Hi, and welcome to the 8th video presentation for our English 3175 Issues in Documentary class. This one is on the two poles of alienation and flow. We've already talked a bit in class about how spectators respond to instances of the process genre, how they get absorbed in the process, how they find it fascinating to discover how such everyday objects as crayons and pencils are assembled. And it is an absorbing genre, as we can see when instances of the process genre are fused together with stories such as in Bresson's A Man Escaped. But one of the things that Tversky is arguing in this chapter is, how do the people in the films themselves feel? And she kind of sets up two poles in order to discuss that issue. First is that so much of the process genre deals with repetition, particularly in Taylorist assembly line situations, that she has to ask the important question, do process films, or at least some process films, celebrate the idea of alienation? That is, since the advent of the Industrial Revolution, there have been a number of cultural critics and theorists who argue that what we have is a kind of piecemeal assembly where each person is simply a cog in some greater machine assembling some device that they don't have any sort of investment in. And as a result, they become automatons. As a result, they work an assembly line and tighten the same screw 8 hours a day, 40 days or 40 hours a week from now until death. Of course, we can get into issues of Marxist alienation too, of being alienated from the product of the labor and diminishing as a person because you become expert at doing one thing, and specialization reduces your capacity to be a fully realized human individual. So Tversky talks about whether or not some process films celebrate alienation, and we'll talk about this issue in class as well. The other pole that Tversky sets up, however, is whether or not some other process films celebrate the flow state. Flow is a psychological state that people enter into when the skills that they have are given a challenge and a direct outcome of what they're able to create when they're in this kind of confluence of their skills fitting perfectly with a challenge. Athletes call it being in the zone, of being so present in the moment that you exceed your own expectations and things start to happen that you never expected to happen. Flow state is when labor is not alienated but fully engaged and fully operating as an engine for individual self-fulfillment and realization of goals. You can see from this little chart that I found online, there are a number of flow state benefits, including ability to deal with complexity and the unpredictable, a sense of timelessness. There are many people who say that if you find something that you do in the world and you lose all sense of time while you're doing it, then that means that's the thing that you were designed to do when you were put on the world. That's the thing that is a perfect fit for you, for your achievements, for your skills, etc. Sense of oneness with environment or others, profound mental clarity, feelings of exhilaration and intrinsic joy, openness to new ideas and concepts, accelerated innovation, increased fluid intelligence, like the ability to solve new problems, etc. So one of the things that you could argue is that many process films celebrate this state of watching an artist being able to create. Although we should remember that one of the things that Tversky points out is that process films that come out with individual and non-repeatable creations, such as, say, for example, an artist who is painting a painting like Picasso, is not something that is replicable by someone who watches the film, and as a result does not often have the same degree of absorption as, let's say, for example, the Mr. Rogers crayon film or the assembling of biscuits on the assembly line in Peak Freen. But let's talk about this in class, because we may argue that, wow, it's great for spectators to watch process films because they're fully invested in it. But what about the people that are being photographed in these films? Are they fully engaged with the work that they do, or are they not? We'll talk about that in class this week.